how is the Olympic Village? I have mixed feelings. Y'all, if I ran 54 races right now, I think but you do not get paid for the Olympics. However, so just because the Olympics or World Athletics or whatever invites you does not mean your country will automatically take you. In my opinion, hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Sember. In this video, I'm gonna be sharing with you guys all things Olympics. So for those of you who do not know me, I am currently a professional athlete. I have been to 2 Olympic Games in my life, and I am currently training for my 3rd one. So in this video, I want to discuss the Olympics because around this time of the year, I tend to get a lot of questions with how does it work? How do you qualify? I get so many different questions for people who want to be Olympians or just people who are generally just curious. And I thought it would be really good because the Olympics are this summer in Paris and they start in July. I would race in August if I qualify. So that is super exciting. And I'm going to do a little Q&A. So it's gonna be more casual. I have a little book here that I'm gonna be sharing with you guys just the question, and I'm gonna share with you my answers and my thoughts. And hopefully this can give you some insight as to what it's like to be an Olympian, what it looks like to train for the Olympic Games, and just general questions if you have any. All right, so the first question I typically get regarding the Olympics is, how do you qualify? I have 3 citizenships, British, American, and Nigerian, and I had the opportunity to run for any of those countries. Because I have citizenship with Great Britain, I'm able to go and compete for them. For our Olympic trials, we have to go and race on a certain day. So I think for us, it's the end of June this year, and we have to go place top 2 in order to automatically qualify. So there's an Olympic standard you have to hit. For my race, it's a certain time to solidify your spot to the Olympics. I go race, I have to qualify for top 2 to get the automatic qualifying. Now let's say I had a bad day. Something happened, I wasn't feeling well, somebody hit me, something crazy happened. I don't finish 2nd, I finish 3rd, I finish 7th. Now, if I have the Olympic standard, I still have the ability to get selected by our federation. It's all discretionary though, so they can decide if they want to take me. If I had a good showing leading up into the championships, they can take me. If they think I have the ability to medal or have the ability to make the final, they can take me. So that 3rd spot is discretionary, so you still have the opportunity. Now, some countries like the USA and I believe Jamaica and a few other countries don't necessarily do this. So they take top 3 on that day. And so every country has a way of doing it. Some countries don't even have Olympic trials, I believe. Smaller Caribbean countries typically don't. Countries where they don't have enough athletes typically don't. So it's just very different for a lot of countries how they take the athletes. But you want to make sure you have the Olympic standard. That is the biggest goal that I've learned, is like you want to hit that time. So for me, my goal is to hit that time as soon as possible. I believe you have a 12-month mark between when you can hit it and when they can select you. The goal is to always hit it as soon as possible. So if you can do it the year before, great, because you don't want to go to a championships and pray that, okay, I want to get the standard here, because 1, you don't know if the weather is going to be good. You don't know if the wind's going to work in your favor, because if you have a negative wind, it can affect your race. There's a lot of factors that play into not hitting the standard the day of that are out of your control. So that is something I recommend. If you are trying to qualify, hit that standard as soon as possible. Don't give people the opportunity to say, well, is she good enough? Like, just try to do that. Now, if you're like me and you have different citizenships, then you have the ability to look into if you can run for a different country or if there's some processes you have to go through. I didn't run for the USA or Nigeria before I ran for Great Britain, so I didn't have to go through a lengthy process of, sitting out a year and all that stuff. But typically, if you're trying to switch allegiance, you need to like sit out for a little bit of time and get paperwork done, and it's a long process. So I knew I wanted to run for England, and it has been a really, really great decision. I'm so happy I am, and yeah, I love representing my country. So the next question I tend to get is, so what happens if you place top 2 but you don't have the standard? Let's say you're top 32 in the world and they tend to take 48. The Olympics can decide if they want to take you. Your country can decide if they want to take you if you have that ranking. If you have competed enough to, put yourself in a ranking position, then you probably can go. Also, are circumstances where people will win a championships and still not get selected because they just didn't have the standard, and that's just unfortunate. And also, just because the Olympics or World Athletics or whatever invites you does not mean your country will automatically take you. Your country still has the final say as to, do they want you to come to represent their team? Do they want to take you on to, bring you to the championships? In my opinion, I think athletes who are capable should go. So that's another video for another day. We'll not go into that today. The next question that I get is, how early do you arrive to the Olympics? So It depends on what's going on that year. So for instance, in my first Olympic Games, I went to a training camp in Portugal. My sister was training at the time with a group out in the Netherlands, and they all went to Portugal, and I joined them because I was training with my sister that summer. We stayed at that group because we wanted to, work with my sister's coach and just kind of have that training before the Olympics. So you want to get there with enough time to make sure your legs feel good, but you don't necessarily want to get there so early that it feels stale. So athletics, which is the sport that I do, track and field, typically is at the end of the Olympics. So if we got there at the opening ceremony, by the time we raced, we might have been there for like a week and a half, depending on what day it is. And that gets stale. So you don't necessarily always want to get there so early to the point where it's just like, one, it's like ranking up your nerves and you're just feeling like, man, I just want to compete. This is getting tiring. This is making my nerves worse. But you also want to have an element of like surprise, like, it was exciting because you get there and you're like, I like how this feels. It feels new. But if you're there for so long, it's just not that helpful. So there's definitely a balance. Now, Tokyo was a different story. So I went to Rio, which was far, but not as far as Tokyo. Tokyo was quite far. So we got there a little bit earlier. I was there quite a long time because my training camp was actually in Japan. So we were in a different place called, I think, Fukuoka. I'm not gonna butcher this name of a place in Japan we went to. We went to this place in Japan for our training camp, and that helped prepare us, get our mind right, all that good stuff. But I was there quite a bit earlier than I was in Tokyo. So I was still in the same region in Japan, but I wasn't in Tokyo. So it didn't get dry for me because I wasn't in the Olympic Village for that long, but I was still in the area that helped me get my legs acclimated and helped me feel better. So that's essentially how it is. This year it's gonna be in Paris, so I have no idea what I have planned if God willing, I'm claiming it now, I'll qualify. I have no idea when or how early I would get there, but essentially still with enough time to make sure your body feels good. Next question is, do you stay in the Olympic Village? Do you have to be there? Like, what does that look like? And typically, yes, you have to be in the Olympic Village once you arrive in the Olympics. So all the athletes stay in this one place. It's usually like pretty much like dormitories, like dorm rooms, and we all stay there. We have like an area where this country stays, that country stays. There's usually flags up in that place to like separate the different countries, and that's really helpful because if you're new, you don't really know where you're going, so it's really helpful to know, okay, I need to be there. That's our location. Do you have to stay? Yes, typically you do have to stay in the Olympic Village. So we do. How is the Olympic Village? I have mixed feelings. So let me say this. I absolutely love seeing all the athletes there. I think it's amazing to just be able to see all the countries come together, see different sports. I literally met Gabby Douglas and Simone Biles and like different athletes, even the NBA players. Like, it's really, really cool. So in Tokyo, my event was towards the end and some athletes were already done. And it was a bit frustrating because I was trying to sleep and people were partying outside. And I'm like, had I been in a hotel, it might have been better, maybe not, who knows. But had I been like in an actual hotel, like we would have had a little bit more, hey, like, can you have to be quiet? So needless to say, I didn't perform the best because I didn't sleep well. I won't use that as the only excuse as to why I didn't run well. That's another video. If you guys want to hear more about my actual performance experience in Tokyo, I'll attach one here because I kind of go into detail on that. Essentially, it's good and bad because it can get really noisy, it can get rowdy. There's a lot of people in the area, but it's really, really cool to like go to the cafeteria with everybody and just enjoy the vibes of the Olympics. Speaking of food and cafeteria, I get questions a lot about how is the food? What does it taste like? So, I'm not a picky eater. My sister might tell you otherwise. I'm not actually a picky eater. However, the way they cook their food for the Olympics is very bulk-like type cooking. And so it can get old very, very quickly because they're not adding a lot of seasoning sometimes, or they're bringing out the same meals every single day because they knew that one worked and they just bring it out every day. Or, they just made such a big portion that it was overcooked. So there's a lot of stuff that I've learned with the Olympics that you want to have your own snacks because you just don't know. However, there are multiple areas of food. So I really love this in like villages because even in Commonwealth Games, they had this where, right here you have the cafeteria, right there you have street food essentially. Over there you have McDonald's. I remember in Rio eating like 2 Big Macs before my race and still ran well. See, that's something I could do when I was 22. I can't do that right now, y'all. Anyways, I literally can have any type of country's meal. They have so many different varieties. So that's one thing I really, really love. If you don't like the cafeteria, try the street food. If you don't like the street food, try that little random restaurant they put there. Like all these different options. So there are options. Do I always like it? No. Japan had some good sushi. Rio had some good quiches, I think. So I had some good experiences. I'm really hoping Paris is gonna be good because y'all, I've been to Paris quite a few times and my experience has not been the best, so I'm hoping it'll be better. I get this question more so from other athletes aspiring to go to the Olympics, but another question I get is, what are some tips you want to give to an athlete who wants to go to the Olympics one day? And I guess my biggest tip would be to stay the course. It's not easy. It's truly not easy to make it to the Olympics. You really have to put in the work. You have to be dedicated. You have to think about the end goal in mind. You have to be really smart about how much you're competing too, because in order to qualify for the Olympics, like I said before, you have to have some standards on a certain day. And if you're running so many meets beforehand, you might not feel good towards that time to qualify. And you really want to make sure your body's in tip-top shape when it matters. For a lot of like university athletes, sometimes they'll be running super, super well early on, but it's really hard to hold on to that when it's time to qualify for this championship. So that's something I recommend is like, if your goal is to make it to the Olympics, talk it over with your coach, make sure that you are being diligent every single day at training. And with that, make sure you and your coach have a plan as to, okay, I need a race here, but I don't necessarily need to do 1,000 races. And maybe you're different. See, for me, before I made my first Olympic team, I think the announcer told the people who were watching that I ran like 54 races or something crazy. Y'all, if I ran 54 races right now, I think I'd be broken. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Being almost 30, you can't do that, okay? I think you really need to just be smart, have a good plan, and really, really work on it. And like I said, it's not easy, but stay the course. Don't give up with training. Don't give up on your goals. Dream about it. Make a vision board if you can, and just like envision yourself making that team and, you know, just really dream. Don't give up. It's a journey, it's worth it, and I think you're capable of doing it. So another question I like to get is, do athletes like to go to the opening ceremony? Do they have to go? Do they have to go to the closing ceremony? All those questions. And that's kind of a point piggybacked on, you know, how early do we arrive? So I actually have never attended an opening ceremony. So because my races have always been towards the end of the Olympics, at least for Tokyo, we weren't even allowed to be at the Olympics that early because they didn't want COVID problems. So they like literally told us we had to be in 6 days before our race, max, out 2 days after our race. Like, we were in and out. So no, I couldn't see the opening ceremony. And at Tokyo, I couldn't see the closing ceremony either because your girl got to get out. So I literally went back home, watched the rest of the Olympics, and saw the closing ceremony on TV. So that was my experience for that. As for Rio, my first Olympics in 2016, I actually had the opportunity to go to the closing ceremony. So it was amazing. I loved it. It was really, really cool. It was nice to see just how it just felt. It felt large. It felt larger than any of us as athletes because it was just like a whole thing coming together. Like, we all just did this goal and we all came together, and it's like, it's ended. Like, it felt really, really cool. And I can imagine the opening ceremony feeling that way too. But no, you don't have to go. It's not something that they automatically say you have to do, but it's something that I think if you have the opportunity, definitely take into account. All right, the next question I get is, do you get paid? So no, you do not get paid for the Olympics. This is a question that I wish was different, but you do not get paid for the Olympics. However, you do get paid from bonuses, from sponsorships, brands wanting to work with you or whatever. So there are 100% ways to get paid. So like, for instance, if you have a contract, you might have bonuses as to if you place top 3, you're gonna get this much more on top of your salary. Or if you place top 10, you get this bonus. Contracts will have that written in there as to how can you make it. So having a contract is really helpful if you're an Olympian or if you're a professional athlete, because it really helps to get paid, y'all. Like, you do all that work and you're like, dang, like, hello, where's the money at? I've seen athletes who have won Olympic gold medals have like super good sponsorships afterwards, working with brands that they probably wouldn't have worked with otherwise. So it definitely opens up opportunities. And this goes into another question I get where people ask, how has it changed your life? Just adding that Olympian status on my name has, you know, opened up opportunities and helped, you know, conversations start. It's just opened up my eyes to just seeing how great it is to be part of something so much larger than myself. And yeah, it just made me recognize like this gift that God gave me is something that I'm good at. Like, I used to be really insecure about anything I did. Like, honestly, when I was younger, I used to be like, well, I'm not really that good at this or that good at that. And when I made my first Olympic team, I'm like, no, I am really good at this. Like, the Lord really did bless me. And so it was something that helped me recognize like, yeah, this is a blessing. I'm very, very grateful. And it has changed my life. It really, really has. And God willing, I'll make it to my 3rd one. And the last question for today is, what is the overall vibe and experience of the Olympics? Absolutely amazing. So much fun, so good, nerve-wracking though. I'm not gonna lie and just sit here and talk about all the good things that come along with it. There's a lot of eyeballs on you. I remember my first experience going to the Olympics. It was like, everybody wanted to become my friend or talk to me and be like, oh, I know her. And I'm just like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, I haven't talked to you in like 15 years. Like, what you talking about? It's a time that people start to kind of gravitate towards you because they want to know how it's going and they want to understand. Whatever it is, there's a lot that goes on behind closed doors. So a lot of athletes get stressed during this time because it is a big, big pinnacle of their career. Like, a lot of athletes just train for this. We don't. People think this is all we do as track athletes. We have world championships and other championships, but because this is a big, big part of our sport, it can add a lot of stress. You gotta be careful with not letting that pressure get to you. So I will say that's the hard part of being part of this. Like, it is the exact same hurdles that I just did at practice or I just did at that track meet that was small. Like, I have to tell myself that because the stage is so big. Just know that if you're trying to go to it. All right, guys, so I hope this video answered some of your questions, or just answered some of the curiosity you may have regarding the Olympics. And if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below any questions I may have forgotten, things I may have not touched on enough of. If I get enough questions, maybe I'll do a part 2. If you guys like videos like this, definitely subscribe. I'm currently doing a series on my YouTube channel where I'm sharing my journey, all of the meets I'm doing, all of the training I'm doing. So I want to share with you guys just kind of the road, allow you to come along with me. So if you like that kind of content, subscribe for more, as well as for content with my husband, John. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.